Hello and welcome to this week's video, which serves two purposes. Firstly, this video rests within the current anti-vibration, anti-noise theme I've been doing of late, but it's also an update video for two older products that I reviewed a little while ago on this channel, and I'll put links above for those. Now, I'm going to be looking at a company, a UK company, another UK company. This one is called Soundeck, and it's based, well, up north, well, from where I'm standing anyway, up north in North Shields, which is placed just to the northeast of Newcastle, I think. Now, I have updates for two of their products, as I say, and I think these updates might be of interest to at least some of you. Now, before I plough on, for those who might not be aware, and I know every video I produce may be someone's first, Soundeck is ensconced within heavy industry. Well, its parent company is. Its parent company is called SDS, and SDS is a steel company. It produces steel for all kinds of people, like industrial gas pipes, underground railway systems, and more. What they do for heavy industry clients is noise suppression, because SDS stands for sound damped steel. The steel it offers its clients is specialist stuff. Railways, as you know, are noisy places, so sound damped steel lowers that noise. Gas, when it runs through pipes, actually screams when it moves under pressure. Not good if the pipes are near housing estates, so SDS lowers that noise as well. Thing is, the boss of SDS is a bit of a hi-fi fan, so he started a small spin-off outfit called Soundeck, and he currently uses SDS materials to produce specialist accessories for hi-fi to, well, keep the noise down. Now, two of his products have been updated, and the first one is Now, the Mk.Ii minis are isolation feet, and I've actually talked about them a lot in recent weeks, coincidentally, of course, because they've taken a guest star role, well, roles, really, in a couple of product reviews based on stack audio isolation feet and speaker feet. I also gave the Soundeck Mk.Ii minis their own review back in September of 2022, and I'll put a link up yonder. Now, Mk.Ii minis can be inserted under most, if not all, audio components to reduce vibration and high frequency noise. That means turntables and amplifiers, streamers, CD players, and even speakers. In terms of build, they consist of two rather thin layers of rather strong steel with a gel-like substance in between that never really sets, which is a good thing, because this configuration forms a sort of constrained layer damping system, and that turns vibration into heat to lower that noise floor. To my mind, they were, and they still are, the best value isolation feet you can buy. Right now, they cost £64.80 for a set of 4, and £54 if you're outside the UK, because you don't pay the tax. And that is the first upgrade. While the materials and the tech remain the same, Soundeck has now produced square versions of the original round feet. Why? Well, because they better fit under certain types of equipment. They give a more tidy and neater appearance. In fact, this shape change is purely a public demand thing. Soundeck were not even going to do it. The public, the customers, said, "Have you got square versions, please?" The performance is equally as good, I must add, but that aesthetic attention will certainly appeal to many users out there. Next, the Soundeck PM Platter Mat. reviewed this weighty platter back in February, I think it was, 2022. It features a similar construction, but not the same materials list as the feet you've just seen. The basic makeup of the disc is a layer of non-magnetic aluminium, because you don't want a magnetic material interfering with the magnets on your turntable's cartridge. Then there's 65 microns of polymer damping material, and then another final layer of aluminium, which produces a constrained layer damping effect. That mat is then powder coated. Now, during my review, I noted how much extra control this mat added when compared to a standard felt mat. It was more accurate and precise when compared to leather mats. The Soundeck delivered more detail than a cork mat. Even when compared to the rather nice Origin Live mat, it added a little bit more focus to that. So this PM Platter Mat performed very well. Now, one thing I never talked about with this mat is how darned flat it is. For the other mats I've mentioned, they're kind of flexible and wobbly, and it doesn't really matter how flat they are because the vinyl does that. It flattens the mat underneath. With this thing, because it's rigid, it has to be flat to begin with. Now, when companies transport aluminium and steel sheets, they tend to arrive in a coiled up form for ease of shipping, and it's then decoiled into a flat length, as it were. This introduces a source of stress into the material because there's a memory effect of that curling, and the metal tries to move back into a coil. So it's about time I showed you the original mat. As you can see, can you hear? Rather rigid. It's non-flexible and very flat indeed. So this is powder coated. Now, when you powder coat this, it's powder coated at 200 degrees C. So when you do that, you heat up this mat all over again. You reintroduce those stresses and you begin to get warping and curling. And it's that memory effect I mentioned. So it's at this point that Soundeck sends these mats outside of its company to another specialist company, and that company has a ginormous leveling machine. Now, the company Soundeck uses has one of just 2 commercially available leveling machines in the UK. That is, this machine does not stretch the metal when it's being flattened. This stuff is flattened and it's not distorted. That's a neat trick if you can do it. Now, the price for this basic PM Platter Mat from Soundeck is £117. If you're outside the UK and you don't pay the tax, £97.50. But the company, and here comes the upgrade, has added a twist for this mat. And it's this. You can now add graphics to the surface of this mat. Anything at all. Your imagination is your limit. The cost of doing this, £48. As I say, you can have anything you fancy. Let me show you one or two. Here's one example. My friends in Wales may appreciate the dragon. Now, this used to be this, as it were. But this has been printed, not painted or anything like that, printed. Now, the final price of the mat and the upgraded printed image is £165 all in, or if you're outside the UK, £137.50. To do the job of this kind of thing, the company uses its own in-house UV printer. The printer is called a Mk.Ii 3042 UVA, which the company bought second-hand for £7,500. And basically it uses UV to cure the paint on this mat. Now, it's a bit of a process. Setting up your artwork and doing the actual printing will take about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. And that's partly because the printer has to print white on the black platter first to get good color depth. And this machine is apparently one of just a few printers that can print white. Now, if you want to add an image to your mat, and let me get you another one so you can see a different image, hey. And here's one for my American friends. Anyway, where was I? So, if you fancy adding an image to your mat, all the company needs from you is a high quality graphic or photo image in the shape that can be cropped. Because as you can see, this is obviously a circle, and you need to crop it because I imagine your image will be square or rectangular. So just imagine if you crop that image in a circular shape, are all the bits going to fit? Is everything going to be included? Now, you don't have to have the image covering the entire mat. You could have the image just in the center section here, or it could just be a little rectangle or funny shape or shapes dotted around the actual mat. So it doesn't have to cover the entire thing as I'm showing you here. Now, performance-wise, well, there's no change if you're using any of these mats as opposed to, excuse me, one of these mats. There's no performance change per se. The only change that I do feel, rather than feel, is this mat has slightly more texture. This mat, I wouldn't say is smoother. It's not that way around. It's like it has less texture. It's still textured. You can feel the texture. Feel that if you run your fingers over it, but there's slightly less of it. Now, that might actually please users who might have been slightly concerned about how the texture was interacting with the delicate vinyl. To my mind, that's more of a fear than a problem, because I never experienced any issues with the original mat or with this one. But even so, if the textured surface of the original was an issue, then this mat might actually help you on that score. And that's it. If you like Soundeck accessories, or you've been thinking of purchasing the same, then maybe these updates will give you something to consider before you buy. Now, if you have questions regarding all of this, you can, if you fancy, put all of your questions and queries in an email address I will place below in the description, and you can have a chat with the company. As for me, before you go, if you could click on the like and subscribe buttons below, that would be much appreciated. It just helps this channel to grow. And also down below, as I say, I'm going to put the email address for Soundeck. I'll also put the website and my own contacts for my Facebook group, which you're welcome to join. My website, check out the website. It's brand new, folks. New design, better interface, easier navigation, all that kind of stuff. And the mobile version is actually much easier to use. So please check that out. Check out my Patreon page. There's a brand new hi-fi news, etc. waiting for you right now. So nip over there and have a little look. That's a video, of course. And there's also text buyer's guides and all kinds of other hi-fi tour videos and stuff. So I'll be back on Friday with a music alert video. And if you want to know what physical media, music, physical media, CDs and vinyl, even books I've been receiving that week, then I'll show you in that video. So hope to see you there. Hope to have your company. Until then, folks, bye-bye for now.